I've attended so many crypto events over the last 8 years, but this one probably tops the lot, coming back from Singapore at Token 2049. This was the biggest crypto conference I've ever attended. Over 20,000 people. I had so many meetings, went to so many events, and listened to so many amazing speakers. And in this video, I'm going to share with you my key takeaways for you as an investor to get an inside word on what's going on with the crypto market, where are the narratives, where should you be parking your attention, and maybe what are the narratives that have been and gone in crypto. And the biggest thing that I took away is that we are still waiting for the ChatGPT moment for crypto. AI has been around for 10, 12, 13 years, but it wasn't until ChatGPT came to all of us that we started to realize, oh, this is what actually AI is. What is that product in crypto? So far we've got Bitcoin, everyone understands Bitcoin, but for the rest of the 15,000 cryptocurrencies, there's very few actual solutions that have hit the mainstream media. Right now, probably the biggest product that has, gotten outside of this little bubble that we live in is Polymarket. Polymarket is the betting app where you can bet on different outcomes of different markets, and the US election has obviously been the biggest one. But what is the really big products that's going to bring in the next billion users into crypto? Back in 2017, we had the ICOs. In 2021, we had the NFTs and the metaverse and gaming. Currently, we do not have that mainstream narrative and that adoption that's going to bring people into crypto. At the moment, the two main narratives that I'm looking at are probably anything around AI or DePIN. And obviously there's a lot of exciting stuff on next gen layer ones, which I'll talk about as well. But what is that product going to be that's going to allow those next people to come into crypto? Now, in August and September, at the time of recording, this has been two of the quietest months in record across all 12 months, right? It's been a very quiet period. I think all of the market is waiting for the last quarter. Now, I also thought that, looking at the calendar, returns was sometimes just a bit of a false narrative, but actually speaking to the projects on the ground in Singapore, a lot of these projects actually wait for the last 3 months of the year to actually release their announcements because they know August and September are quiet months. So there's so many amazing announcements coming out in the next 3 months for crypto, and I think this is going to really drive the market forward. But again, I don't think we're going to see a raging bull market until we really see something that consumers to grapple onto. Now, Asia itself is, I think, an undertapped market in all of crypto, right? Living here in Australia, we probably forget how much user adoption is going on in the likes of Vietnam, Singapore, Thailand, even Indonesia. There's so much crypto adoption going over there. But as I was going through the conference and looking around all the exhibitors and looking at the projects, I've been in this space for 8 years, and honestly, I rarely recognized any of the projects that were exhibiting throughout the conference. There is so much market saturation in the projects. There was literally this whole floor. It took you about 10 minutes to walk from one end to the other, and 2 floors of this full of exhibitors. Now, these exhibitors pay tens of thousands of dollars to be there, and I walked through and spoke to a lot of them and seeing what was around. Honestly, as I mentioned, there was not many I really recognize. There's so much oversaturation in crypto, especially in the layer 1 space, credit card space, stablecoin space, exchanges. Everyone is vying for market positioning, but the reality is in crypto, in my opinion, there's probably only maximum 10 real world problems that crypto can actually solve. And there's over 15,000 projects vying for those positions. So as an investor, my key takeaway here was that, again, there's so much market saturation with very little market capital coming in. With your investing thesis and your strategy, you must keep it simple. I think if you overcomplicate things and try and chase coins this cycle, again, it's not going to be like previous cycles where you just bet on anything and everything goes up. I really do believe this cycle, only the key projects will survive and get that market attention. Everyone is vying for very few eyeballs right now in crypto. And with the, how little retail interest there are, when you've got so many projects vying for attention, this can really put pressure on these projects to try and, do crazy things with their marketing and try and get exposure. If you've got, older projects that have been around for a long time, for the likes of Polkadot, Cardano, XRP, in my opinion, a lot of these chains don't have a chance against these next-gen futuristic, projects that have the community, that have the momentum, that have the sentiment, that are coming into the market, especially as the volume of these projects coming in, and we saw that on the ground. Now, what are these projects that are going to be, getting the attention in future months? Well, the biggest key, narratives and things that people were talking about at the conference certainly was AI. AI was a huge topic at the conference. I think, the likes of, Render, BitTensor, Spectral, these are all projects, Prime, which I'm personally invested in. These are all projects that I think are going to get, really big narratives as consumers come back in. But also you can start to figure out, hey, how AI actually plays in, at a ground level, whether it be through, mining crypto and having AI, creating better algorithms to mine the crypto, or whether it be AI interfaces where you can interact with a ChatGPT of crypto and it can do the trading for you. There's so many different AI integrations, and not only from the project level and internally helping projects create and code faster, but also integrate in the project. I think AI is continuing going to be a big area, especially in the decentralized AI space. Like that ability that we've all been thinking about, especially with ChatGPT, is how a lot of the creation of the AI is still quite centralized. Like who is controlling that? How is the narrative created? But with decentralized AI, we all have a part to play in how those AI bots are created and how they're trained, which I think is really important. The next big one was those next-gen layer ones, the likes of Sui, Aptos, Berachain. These new next-gen layer ones are, quote unquote, trying to be the Solana killers, right? They're trying to be faster, quicker, different style of blockchains that are computing faster and doing different things. These are the next gen layer ones that I think is getting the community quite excited right now. I'm personally not investing in them too heavily. I'm still very bullish on Ethereum and Solana. I think a lot of these projects will have their time in the sun, and yes, they're probably going to get good price increase, and they're going to get a lot of attention. But again, there's so much saturation in the layer one space that I just think that, again, from a investment portfolio perspective, we must be really cautious about over-investing in these layer ones, because you can end up with just a bunch of altcoins in your portfolio. And when the market really pulls back, or when we get it right now when there's not a lot of retail attention, these projects are going to really find it hard to get that mind space. Outside of AI and next-gen layer ones, there was a lot of talk about DePIN, a lot of talk about stable coins. But what there wasn't a lot of talk about was there was very little gaming and very little metaverse. These were two very big themes in previous cycles. I've personally been a very heavy investor in the metaverse. There was basically zero metaverse that I saw. There was a little bit of gaming. I'm personally invested in a couple of gaming projects, Ronin for one, like the Ronin blockchain, and also a Prime, which is sort of that gaming AI integration. But I think really what the VCs were pushing, that still where the biggest valuations are coming from, is that infrastructure level. There are very few good consumer applications that have actually been built in crypto right now. As I said at the start, like Polymarket is probably the only consumer application that's been created that has made it outside of our little bubble of crypto. Really where a lot of the VCs continue to invest is that infrastructure level, like your Ethereum, Solana, the other layer ones, Berachain, Sui, these newer projects. This is where a lot of the capital is going in, because there's a clear point where these projects can get into the billions of dollars of valuations. There's very few consumer applications in crypto that can actually get to that level. And one of the things that's holding that back is, from my key takeaways, was one, the lack of understanding from retail investors. Like the lack of knowledge from retail investors is, actually holding valuations back. And also two, which was a point one of the VCs made, was there's actually very few good quality founders in crypto that can actually build high quality consumer applications. We've got to remember when we're investing into crypto that these are startups at the end of the day. These are projects that are building in crypto. They've got founders, they're trying to find product market fit, they've got runways, they're trying to build something that we want to use. And once you add tokenization, you add decentralization, you add blockchain, you add crypto, just the level of difficulty continues to rise and it multiplies. So we need to understand that at the end of the day, we're investing in early stage startups. These are hugely highly risky assets. And in a market where you don't have that momentum and don't have that, that new capital coming in, it can be very, very difficult for these projects to find, mind share, amongst the industry. Another thing when investing into altcoins, which I really got, a glimpse of when speaking to a lot of the projects, in person, is that one of the biggest things of, for VCs is obviously getting in early in these projects. So a lot of these VCs get really undervalued prices to these assets, and then they have these token unlocks where they can go and sell their assets, on chain. Now, in September alone, there's over $2.1 billion of token unlocks in the altcoin space, which is wild. Even in the next 2 weeks of time of recording, there's over $600 million of token unlocks, including the likes of Sui and Solana, taking up a massive amount of VC capital that are basically being able to come on chain and unlock into retail investors. Now, when you have such huge unlocks of supply, it really puts pressure, I guess, on the sell side. And when you don't have those demand from the consumers and retail investors, it puts huge sell pressure on the price. And it's why sometimes it can be difficult for these prices to really grow, into these coming months. So another thing we really got to understand with these altcoins, that the tokenomics is hugely important. And there's a lot of really poor token economics from a retail side. You and I investing. They're great for VCs and they're great for the projects themselves, but ultimately a lot of them are creating huge sell pressure into the market. So we've got to understand token unlocks. And now the last thing is just probably just being at the conference, it made me super excited and super confident about the space. Hearing Vitalik speak, going to the events, going to the conferences, really hearing, the projects that have been building, that there hasn't been a lot of excitement over the last few months. Like, I completely understand that, but there's so much exciting stuff to happen, and we know how quickly crypto turns. Like, it doesn't take much for the market to turn around a rip, and all of a sudden everyone's excited again. Now, I know the ETH BTC chart has been, on a downwards trend for the last probably nearly 2 or 3 years now, and it's probably put a lot of pressure on these projects to try and deliver, but I think that will return. I think crypto will come back. I think we'll get some sort of consumer application in the next year or two that gets everyone excited again, that brings investors back. And I think that's what's going to drive the next real big wave of mass adoption. But ultimately, I'm still super confident in crypto. The 4-year cycle stands. I've done a lot of other content around that if you want to check that out. But overall, the Token 2049 experience was epic. I had a lot of amazing conversations with the businesses, with the projects, and there's a lot of great, exciting things to come. But yeah, focus on those narratives, simplify your profile and your portfolio, and you're going to have a really successful time in crypto. So hopefully you enjoyed that. If you've got any other questions about the conference, please drop them in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.